The detention platform hummed with the low-frequency vibrations that all Vraxian military installations produced, a constant reminder of the Empire's technological superiority over the lesser species they governed. Marcus Webb sat on the metal bench in his holding cell, his hands clasped loosely between his knees, waiting with the patience that only soldiers who had seen real combat could manage. The diplomatic incident that had landed him here was minor by human standards, but the Vraxians took their protocols seriously, and when a human refused to show deference to a magistrate, consequences followed swiftly. Commander Throck descended the corridor with heavy footfalls, each step a deliberate announcement of his presence. He stood 8 feet tall, his carapace gleaming under the harsh lights. Mandibles clicking in what Marcus had learned was a sign of contempt. Behind him, a cluster of guards gathered, their compound eyes fixed on the human prisoner with undisguised curiosity. "The human thinks himself clever," Throck announced, his translator rendering his chittering speech into flat, emotionless words. "You sit there as though this detention means nothing, as though you are not at our mercy." Marcus looked up, his expression neutral. "I'm sitting here because I'm following your procedures. You detained me, I complied. Not sure what else you expected." The mandibles clacked faster, and Throke's secondary arms flexed, the gesture radiating aggression. "Your species was granted limited passage through our territories as a courtesy. You abuse this privilege with your arrogance, your refusal to acknowledge proper hierarchy. You are soft creatures, barely capable of surviving your own world. Yet you swagger through the galaxy as though you have earned your place among the civilized races." "We earned our place the same way everyone else did," Marcus replied evenly. "We built ships, we explored, we made contact." "Pretty standard story." Throck slammed a primary fist against the cell's energy barrier, causing it to flare bright blue. "Standard? Your kind has been traveling space for barely 2 centuries. The Vraxian Empire has ruled these sectors for 12,000 years. You are children playing at being adults, and you need to be taught your place." Marcus stood slowly, rolling his shoulders. He was tall for a human at 6'3", but still dwarfed by the Vraxian commander. "So teach me." The corridor fell silent, except for the ambient hum. Several guards shifted nervously, their antennae twitching. Throke's head tilted, processing the response. "What did you say?" "You want to teach me a lesson about humanity's place in the galaxy. So teach me." "You're obviously itching to, given how you've been posturing for the last 5 minutes." Throke's translator emitted a sound that might have been laughter. "You challenge me? You challenged me first. I'm just accepting." The commander turned to his subordinates. "Witness this moment. The human thinks his soft flesh can match Vraxian strength." He gestured, and the energy barrier dissolved. The combat ring. Now, no weapons, no armor. When I break you, your species will learn humility. Marcus stepped out of the cell, cracking his neck. "Lead the way." The combat ring was a circular platform 30 meters across. Surrounded by tiered seating, where off-duty guards gathered with surprising speed, once word spread that a human was actually going to fight. Commander Throck. The Vraxians filled the seats, their chittering building to a crescendo of anticipation. No species willingly fought a Vraxian in single combat. Their exoskeletons could withstand tremendous impacts. Their 4 arms could attack from multiple angles simultaneously. And their strength was legendary. Marcus stepped onto the platform and began stretching methodically. Hamstrings, quads, shoulders, neck. He'd been in holding for 3 days, and his body needed the preparation. Throck entered from the opposite side, raising all 4 arms to the crowd, which responded with enthusiastic clicking. Let this human represent his entire species. Let his defeat remind all who watch that the Vraxian Empire stands supreme. "You talk a lot," Marcus observed, bouncing on his toes, shaking out his arms. And you will scream much. Throck lowered into a combat stance. His forearms spread wide, ready to grapple or strike. The bell rang. Throck charged immediately, closing the distance with surprising speed for his size. Marcus sidestepped at the last possible moment, letting the commander's momentum carry him past. One of Throck's secondary arms lashed out, trying to catch the human, but Marcus was already pivoting, his fist driving into the joint where the commander's leg connected to his carapace. The impact sent a shockwave through Marcus's arm, but Throck stumbled, clearly not expecting the human to strike first or to target a weak point. The crowd's chittering changed pitch, confusion mixing with excitement. Throck recovered quickly, spinning with all four arms sweeping in a coordinated pattern designed to catch opponents from multiple angles. Marcus dropped low, feeling the air pressure as the arms passed overhead, then drove his shoulder into Throck's center mass. The commander barely budged, his weight and balance too solid, but Marcus hadn't expected to move him. He was mapping the target, learning how Throck responded to pressure. A primary fist came down like a hammer. Marcus rolled aside, the blow cratering the platform where he'd been standing. He came up in a crouch and launched forward, going under Throck's guard to deliver 3 rapid strikes to the same leg joint he'd hit before. The carapace cracked on the third hit. Throck roared, a sound that needed no translation. He grabbed for Marcus with all 4 arms, but the human was already moving, circling to the commander's injured side, forcing him to rotate on the damaged leg. Marcus knew he couldn't trade blows with a Vrexian. Their natural armor was too effective, their strength too overwhelming. But armor had weak points, and strength meant nothing if you couldn't land a hit. The commander adapted, becoming more cautious, using his reach advantage to probe with quick strikes rather than committed attacks. Marcus weaved and bobbed, slipping punches by centimeters, occasionally darting into land body shots that did little visible damage but accumulated over time. He was breathing hard now, sweat streaming down his face. But Throck was favoring his injured leg more noticeably. "Stand still and fight," Throck demanded, frustration clear even through the mechanical translation. "You first," Marcus replied between breaths. The crowd had gone quieter, their chittering less certain. This wasn't how these fights were supposed to go. Humans were supposed to be weak, easy to break. But this one kept moving, kept striking, refused to be caught or cornered. Thr. OK attempted a new strategy, using his 4 arms to create a cage, trying to trap Marcus against the platform's edge. Marcus dropped and rolled between the commander's legs, coming up behind him. Before Throck could turn, Marcus jumped onto the commander's back, wrapping his legs around the thorax and his arms around the thick neck, applying a chokehold that cut off airflow to the breathing spiracles located there. Throck spun wildly, trying to dislodge the human with all 4 arms reaching back. Marcus held on with everything he had, his muscles burning with the effort, adjusting his grip as Throck bucked and twisted. The commander slammed backward into the platform, crushing Marcus beneath his weight. The impact drove the air from Marcus's lungs, but he maintained the hold, tightening it further. Throck pushed up and slammed down again, and again. Each impact sent fresh waves of pain through Marcus's body, but he'd been in pain before. He'd been in situations where letting go meant death. This wasn't even close to the worst. The commander's movements became more desperate, less coordinated. His 4 arms flailed rather than struck with purpose. The chittering from the crowd had ceased entirely. They watched in absolute silence as their commander, their symbol of Vraxian dominance, struggled against the soft human who refused to release his grip. Throck dropped to one knee, his movements slowing. His arms reached back one final time, weakly grasping at Marcus, then fell to his sides. He pitched forward, and Marcus released the hold. rolling clear as the massive Vraxian collapsed face first onto the platform with a resounding crash. Marcus clung to his feet, every part of his body screaming in protest. He was pretty sure he had cracked ribs, definitely had bruises that would last weeks, and his hands were swelling from the impacts against Vraxian carapace. He looked down at the unconscious commander, then up at the crowd of silent guards. "He'll be fine in a few minutes," Marcus said, his voice rough. "Just needs air. No permanent damage." The guards stared, their antennae twitching in patterns Marcus couldn't interpret. Finally, one of them stepped forward, a smaller Vraxian with silver markings on his carapace. "You defeated Commander Throck. He challenged me. I accepted. That was the deal." Marcus limped toward the platform exit. "Now, unless someone else wants to teach humanity its place, I'd like to go back to my cell and maybe get some medical attention." No one moved to stop him. The silver-marked guard gestured, and two others moved to attend to Throck, who was beginning to stir, his breathing spiracles gasping. Marcus walked through the parting crowd, every step an exercise in controlled movement to avoid showing how much pain he was actually in. 3 hours later, after a medical scan and treatment for his injuries, Marcus was escorted not to his cell, but to a transportation platform. The silver-marked Vraxian, who had spoken earlier, stood waiting with a data tablet. "The detention order has been rescinded," the guard stated formally. The magistrate